Hey family, El Michael here. You know, every so often, life gives you a wake-up call. One that makes you stop and really look at yourself. There's a moment when you realize the applause you've been chasing was never designed to make you feel whole. So we stack achievements like armor, right? The wins, titles, followers, likes, believing they'll protect us from the feeling of not enough. But then life holds up a mirror, and what you see staring back at you isn't your resume or titles, it's your soul asking, who am I without all this noise? So Cristiano Colla looked into that mirror, and instead of running, he listened. He walked away from the identity that once defined him and stepped into something raw, something real. Now, this isn't a conversation about perfection. It's a conversation about breaking the illusion, letting go of who you thought you had to be, and discovering the truth you can finally live with. Now, here's a glimpse of what he discovered. I was going to say, you say strict restrictive for your spiritual growth. What did that look like?
Well, I was middle 2024. I was struggling emotionally. I felt restricted, and I was not myself. I was falling back into old ways of thinking, and I was doing therapy, and it didn't work for me because I would talk about stuff, but I wouldn't actually have the time to process. So I eventually looked into psychedelics and specifically ayahuasca, because after researches, I had the feeling that's what I needed to get to the core of my traumas, to get to the core of what I was struggling with. So if you're a person who experiences dreams like lucid dreams, vivid dreams, I feel that those are powerful insights to be taken care of when we are awake again the next day, at least to give ourselves the time to reflect on those experiences.
Sometimes it takes losing everything we thought made us whole to discover what really matters. Cristiano Colla's journey is one of courage, surrender, and truth. From chasing physical perfection to being cracked open in the jungles of Peru, he learned that healing doesn't come from performance, it comes from presence. In this conversation, we explore what happens when you stop chasing validation and start remembering who you really are. This is why I stopped chasing validation with Cristiano Colla. All right, we are here in Cristiano Colla. I want to invite you and welcome you to the ThriveWell Journey. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yes, we've been trying to do this for some time now, and we're here. And I'm excited to have a conversation with you because you are a new generation kind of guy. You've taken up, you're taking up your life really and change it around to really fit your soul and your spirit. And I admire that. A lot of people want to do that, but they don't, and you did. And before we get into the conversation, I typically ask an intrinsic kind of question. And I know you started this journey some time ago. So what's the most important truth that you live by today that you didn't fully understand about your life 5 years ago?
I would say to show up in life authentically, at least trying to do my best, not to compromise myself and the longings of my soul for someone else's satisfaction. It's probably something I didn't fully understand 5 years ago, but now I think I'm embodying, or at least I am on my path to become that person.
You use the word embodying, and that's a really powerful word, and we'll get back to that. But I want to just kind of build up to who you are today, and your home country is Italy, but are you still in Australia right now?
No, I'm back in Italy. So I came back early this year. So I lived in
Okay.
Australia from 2018 to January 2025. So almost 7 years.
Okay. Now, you were in health, you were a semi-pro football player, and you were a fitness coach, right? Talk about that life, and who you were in that period of your life.
Well, I grew up around football, so I was football from the age of 5 to 24. That's all I knew. My whole identity was built around football. So I consider myself a football player even before a human being sometimes.
Mm,
Or perhaps that was the culture, at least the home I grew up in. And it was tough for me to relate to people, um, to relate to human beings, under different contexts or circumstances. So I would be really shy away from the football environment. So I was a completely different person from playing, from being on the pitch, or being outside of it. And
mhm,
this dynamic kept playing later in my life when I delved into personal training in the fitness industry. Um, and being around fitness, professional sports from a young age, um, it definitely shaped how I interact with people, how I show up in life. Um, and at some point, it took a toll on me because I didn't know who I was away from that. So I would struggle, romantic context or on a personal level, professional level as well. Um, and I didn't fully understand who I was, and I was, in a way, judging myself for the lack of experiences I had away from the professional environment, and that made me feel sometimes behind. So I would compare myself to people that I perceived them I had in life, and I felt
mhm,
behind. So in a way, it showed me a part of myself, my potential in a way, but um, in another way, it took away from me as well.
yeah. As you were sharing that, like I remember my years as well. For people that are listening and watching, when we say when we talk about football, we're talking about American soccer. All right, so just
Yeah.
just so that we bring context to folk. But I ran track and field for through college, and somewhat going to training myself to go to the Olympics. And I do remember when you said that, like my identity was wrapped up in my sport, and outside of that, like I didn't really know who I was either. And then when I lost that, or I wasn't competing anymore, I too had an identity crisis. But I didn't even know that it was a crisis or an issue. I just didn't know who I was outside of what I did for 20 years. That was my identity. And for you, that was your identity, but things shifted for you. When did things shift for you, uh, outside of the norm that you had for yourself?
Yeah, great question. When I decided to emigrate to Australia in 2018, that was the first conscious shift I made.
Hmm.
Um, it was a in a way an act of rebellion against my own self
Mm,
because I was so soaked in this identity of football player, that I didn't want that anymore. I wanted to travel the world. I wanted to experience other cultures. I wanted to see what was out there for me to explore, other gifted part of myself, not just football.
hmm.
So when I started to travel, that was the first time I opened up to the flow of life, to the opportunities of life away from football,
Hmm.
meeting new people on a daily basis and learning their story and sharing things.
Hmm.
Being in another country itself, away from my Italian background. And I made a conscious decision not to get myself back to football whenever I feel discomfort. whenever I needed that, safe place to go, I made a conscious decision not to go back to football, because I knew that if I did, I was going to deny all those things that I just mentioned to myself, and the opportunities to evolve as a human being.
That was, I was going to see was what that was for you, because a lot of people fall into the trap when you're in the world of the unknown. It's like, I get to get back to what's comfortable because I know that world, right? So
Yeah.
I'm now in the world of unknown. What do I do? And you brought the world out, the word evolve. And so you were comfortable in evolving. You're comfortable with being uncomfortable, right? Would it be a fact?
Yeah, that's facts. Well, it wasn't easy all the time,
Right. Yeah.
but yeah, I just made sure to remind myself that was just temporary, and that, I took a decision for a reason, and
Mhm.
it was a constant reminder, not to go back to, as you said, what felt comfortable, and keep pushing into the unknown, and trusting and surrendering to other gifts of the universe, to the unlimited possibilities that were waiting for me. And that's what I did, but it
Yeah.
wasn't easy.
No, it's never easy. But I think that's what challenges us in evolving, is that when we are uncomfortable and okay with being uncomfortable, there's a shift that happens. And with you, there was a shift that I assume that happened with you. And in that world of the unknown and being uncomfortable, what was like the thing that showed up for you and said, this is what I want for the duration of my life?
I don't think I fully get the question.
So in your evolution, being in the
Yeah.
world of being the world of the unknown, right?
Yeah.
Being uncomfortable. What was that thing that kept you saying, I'm going to continue to evolve and not go back to what's comfortable?
I think trusting my ability to expand, and not to retreat again and again and again, whether it was physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally. I've As soon as I started to travel, I have discovered a connection with the universe. I like to call it the universe, like some
Hmm.
people call it God. Um, so I trusted that as a sort of, silent guidance. Um, so that was it is hard to explain. It's like when you're on the right path, and you don't question it, regardless of whether you are, experiencing comfort or emotional pain, or physical pain in some way. Um, so I trusted that anything that came up for me, it was the right thing I needed at that time,
Hmm.
and that I wasn't going to be in that state forever. Um, so it's and courage as well. So having the courage um, to back yourself up, and not only relying on, for example, family or friendships to gain a sense of self. That was probably courage. That was the thing that kept me from going back, and push me towards evolution.
Yeah, and what I'm hearing as well is that there's a world of self-discovery that you wanted to find out for your, like, who you were in this new space.
Yes, because within the football context, even when I was at school, for example, people, they used to compliment me for my football skills, and never because of my human personality traits, not because of my kindness or anything else. It was all about, oh, you scored a great goal, oh, you played well.
Yeah.
and I was relating to people that way. So
Yeah.
like I was, you know, getting a sense of validation in a way. Um, and again, as I said before, I wanted to rebel against that because I wanted to prove myself that I was more than that. And then I didn't want people to see me just as a football player.
Hmm.
I wanted people to see me as a whole human being, because
Hmm.
I was struggling to see them as whole human being at first, and that was painful for me in the
Hmm.
beginning. And I didn't want to live my life like that.
Yeah.
Uh, Hence, I made the decision to step away.
Ladies, check this out because you're going to like what I'm about to say. And fellas, let's talk about it. Energy, your energy, the kind that fuels your focus, your drive, and your confidence in every area of life. So when I started using the Ushaman Male Potency Elixir, created by my brother, Celestino Cornell, I noticed something shift. My clarity sharpened, my stamina rose, my focus locked in, and whether I'm training, creating, or pouring into my purpose, I just feel alive. And here's the thing. This isn't about hype or shortcuts, it's about alignment. When your body, your mind, and your spirit are connected, you move through the world differently, right? You lead differently, and you definitely love differently. So that's what this elixir was designed for, to support blood flow, endurance, and presence, so you can show up stronger, centered, and in flow every single day. So if you're ready to recharge your energy, restore your balance, and reclaim your power, go to ushaman.com/elixir to use code ThriveWell for 10% off your order. That's ushaman.com/elixir. Step into your sacred strength today. The link and the code is in the show notes. Check it out.
Step away.
To step away. And the reason I asked that, because we talk to a lot of people, entrepreneurs and things like that. And so sometimes we get stuck in this way of being because people give us praise for, I don't know, building a company or whatever it may be, but that's what our identity is. And so when there's a shift that needs to happen, people will be scared to get away from that, even though there's a calling for them to get away from that, but they're still stuck in this identity because of the praise.
Yeah.
And people like you made a shift, right? You make the shift and you went on a journey. And what was that? What was the next journey for you? What was that?
After I began to travel, you mean?
Yes.
Well, I started to study as within the sports and fitness context, and I eventually found I started to work as a personal trainer, as a sole trader at first. But then I quickly realized that without any background, with business or anything like that, marketing, it was really hard.
Mm-hmm.
So I joined a private studio, and I worked there as a coach for 4 years. So I was training people to compete in bodybuildings or like doing fitness photo shoots, body composition, everything around that. So that was my next journey, which helped me complement my sport background,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and my interest with psychology and coaching, because I used to study psychology in high school too. So that felt like a complementation of my skills,
Yeah.
from my background, and I really enjoyed doing that job, and dealing with people on a daily basis, and taking them from A to B,
Mm-hmm.
and seeing them evolve themselves with my presence. It was really a fulfilling and satisfying um, job.
Yeah.
Uh, but eventually, I got to a point that even that became restrictive, for my spiritual growth.
Okay.
Say the most. So,
I was going to say, you say restrictive for your spiritual growth. What did that look like?
well, I was middle 2024. I was struggling. I was struggling emotionally, to open up. So after that initial period of transitioning from my traveling into settling into a city and actually starting a job and creating my network of people,
Mm-hmm.
then eventually I got to a point that even that, I felt restricted, and I was not myself. I was falling back into old ways of thinking,
Mm.
and I was doing therapy, and it didn't work for me because I would talk about stuff, but I wouldn't actually have the time to process. And it was just words and words. It was just talking. So I eventually looked into psychedelics and specifically ayahuasca, because after researches, I had the feeling that's what I needed to get to the core of my traumas, to get to the core of what I was struggling with.
Yeah.
And therapy wasn't doing it for me anymore.
Yeah.
So I made a decision to go to South America and work with shamans and work with the medicine. They call it the medicine.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, I came back, and that's why my life and my job as a personal trainer felt restrictive, because being in a gym all day, with the music loud, with people slamming weights right and left.
It was just much.
There's a big ego sometimes going around at the gym. Maybe you know that. Um, so I didn't want to be part of that
Mm-hmm.
while I was transforming, while I
Mm.
was shifting again towards a more grounded and authentic um, life.
Yeah. So you're still personal coaching. Was there something, a situation or something? Because typically when we go on a journey like that, not that I have yet, but typically when people go on a journey like that, ayahuasca, I have a really good friend who's done that, who's actually been on the podcast, and he did that some time ago. Another person who was on the podcast, Susanna Stokes, she went on that journey as well. And there's always something that was like, it was not necessarily a trigger moment, but I'm just going to use that as a
Yeah.
trigger moment that sent them on this journey, much like you, that led them to ayahuasca, the ayahuasca area. I don't know. What was that trigger moment for you, or a moment for you? I don't know if it was a trigger, but just a moment for you that led you to get to the journey to the ayahuasca.
Well, yeah. There are many triggers, but I would say the most profound one is I had this feeling of brokenness. Right?
Brokenness.
Brokenness. I felt there was something deep inside me, that something was wrong, and I couldn't figure out what it was. But then I actually understood that there's nothing wrong. And again, I was identifying myself with this feeling of brokenness, um, especially within a romantic context. So I I was with a woman for 2 years, and this woman really supported me in my growth. But it was really triggering, as everything that makes you grow, it triggers you, like the deepest part of yourself.
Yeah.
Um, so shifting from this mindset of victimhood
Hmm.
to empowerment and taking ownership of my of my story, of my traumas, and not making somebody else, which is
Hmm.
what I was doing within the romantic context. I was projecting my stuff onto her, regardless of how patient she was. Um, so that was the biggest trigger for me.
So, so you had that trigger. You went to the ayahuasca, and I'm asking these questions out of curiosity, right?
Yeah,
Me and Yvonne, we think it's a cool thing, but we haven't done it. And we were talking about you. And I said we might need to take a trip to the Peruvian jungle. You know what I mean? To find that, to get some clarity for ourselves. But you went down there, and there's a when I was reading, you have the saying that ayahuasca. Well, first of all, for those, most people pretty much know what ayahuasca is, but just for the people that don't know, what is ayahuasca?
ayahuasca is a plant native from South America, from region like Peru, Brazil, Ecuador, and Colombia. It is a combination of two plants, actually. So the ayahuasca vine and the chacruna bushes, which are leaves, and they are combined together, boiled into hot water for a amount of hours, and what comes out is a sticky reddish liquid that it gets given to the participants in the ceremonial space. So
Hmm.
we got to drink it, and it contains DMT, which is a psychedelic substance.
Dimethyl try something. Triapolline or something. I remember, I know the letters DMT. I did a little study on that some years ago. And you got into that space of ayahuasca, you took ayahuasca, and I've seen just that it's an enlightenment space for people, or a moment for people. What did ayahuasca do for you? Because I mean, first of all, you're on this journey trying to figure out your identity and really knowing that you're going through this transformation, and now you find yourself in the space of ayahuasca, and you've taken that, and there's what's now happening for you.
Ayahuasca allowed me to, it stripped away most of my illusions.
Hmm.
But even to this day, with integration, it's a constant process, constant evolution. So it's not because I went that my life changed. It's because of my willingness to integrate the experience afterwards that my life is changing how I want to. So I would say ayahuasca allowed me to destroy the armor that I've built and the character I've built for so many years. It destroyed that, and it left me vulnerable with my creative self.
Hmm.
And that's the life I want to live. That's the life I've decided to live. A life of creation, not a life of victimhood.
Life of creation. Do you feel like that you've gotten to the core of who you are authentically?
I am getting glimpses of it. Yes,
Or
it is
glimpses?
hard to say if I got to the real core, but I'm getting close. Um, just by the small decision I'm making daily,
Hmm.
um, and what comes, the consequences of those little decisions.
Hmm.
I can realize that I am constantly deciding to live that life,
Hmm.
um, which which is promising.
Now, What's different for you now? Who are you now versus who you were then? Like, what's the distinct difference that you can feel and tell within yourself, that going to this journey, taking the ayahuasca, and now being here, that you can see?
I am definitely a more humbly but empowered being.
Hmm.
I feel responsible for my decisions, for my life. Not that I didn't before, but now I am closer to the truth. Before I did it because I was, acting on sometimes intuition, on impulses at times
Hmm.
that led me somewhere.
Yeah.
But this time I am more conscious and I have a more intimate relationship with my intuition.
Mm.
Um, so that's the being I was before, reactive being,
Mm.
out of control. And now I am responsive to life. I'm not reacting to life, which is a massive shift.
Yeah.
So like before I had external stimulus and I would just instantly react like it was an animal, for example. Now I have the external stimulus and I like take my time to pause and decide what I want to do with that stimulus. in all the areas of my life, whether it's relating to human beings in an interaction, whether it's in the romantic context, whether it's in sport and training. Um, that was the most significant shift I had.
Is there a community with you now of people that have shifted their lives in the way that you did?
No.
No.
Well, the people that I've done the experience with, because I wasn't alone. It was 25 of us,
Uh-huh.
people I didn't know. That still to this day is with some of them we keep in touch, and some of them they are on my same path, and that's why when we talk we can relate to each other.
Yeah.
But I find it really hard to speak about my experience with family and friends because they haven't done it. And when
Hmm.
you get to work with such a powerful plant like ayahuasca, um, it is a delicate topic to talk about
Hmm.
to people that they haven't done it.
Hmm. Yeah, I asked that question because I know that there are people that may want to do it. They listen to this podcast and it may, empower them to do it. But they don't have the community because it is a kind of a controversial kind of thing. Um, I don't think it should be, but you know, that's kind of what society has created to be in a way. But you you are now calling yourself a truth receiver, not a truth seeker. Am I right?
Yeah.
What's the difference in the shift in your mindset to say, you know what, I was seeking truth at some point, but now I'm receiving?
The way I see it is it feels my responsibility now not to seek the truth externally to me. Again, it puts me in a survival mode in a way. But when I made the shift of calling myself a receiver of truth, it was because I felt an opening in my heart, in my expression, and truth always arises within. It's
Mm,
not it's not outside of us. So if I stay open and if I keep myself abundant to the treasures of my own soul, and explore those gifts with small steps, then I know that's the truth because I'm acting on an intrinsic motivation, like you've mentioned intrinsic before. It comes straight from the source, which is me. It doesn't come
mhm,
from something else. So I'm not a seeker anymore for that reason.
mm.
And if I have the willingness and the courage to observe my inner landscapes, that's what the truth comes from. So it doesn't come from your parents. It doesn't come from your best friends. Whatever they say, it doesn't matter in a
Yeah.
way. What matters is what's inside you, what you want to do, like the longings of your soul.
Mhm.
And I feel I must listen to those.
So there's a big difference that I'm hearing. Before your journey, it was like there was this outside praise, outside ambition, the things that you saw on the outside was something that you were going after. But now, what you're realizing um, is that everything that is fulfilling to you comes from within.
Yes,
So,
correct.
so what would you say to someone that is seeking and searching for wealth and all these kind of things that's on the outside, which is to have that is fine, but it's really all the things that are coming from you that you're really, I don't know, causing and creating for your life to be.
Yeah. Um, that it takes courage, and that it takes the willingness to observe the little things. And what helped me the most It was reflecting or like meditating
Mm-hmm.
on the meaning of death. So when I started to reflect on death, that was another shifting moment for me, because I realized I wasn't going to live somebody else's life, or I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't going to live on somebody else's approval. Even if I loved them, it still didn't matter, because I was the one living my life. So meditating on the brevity of life, meditating on what do I really want to do if nobody else was around me. Like, would I still do it, or would I do it because somebody else is giving me the thumbs up, or is telling me, yeah, you're doing great?
Mm-hmm.
Would I still do it if nobody was there to applaud me or to cheer me on? So it was asking myself those questions, um, that shifted the whole thing.
Yeah. You said that you started to take a new view on death. What's that view now?
Um, I, I reflect on death a lot, because there's a direct connection between life and death. So,
Yeah,
for example, when we go to sleep,
I'd agree.
yeah, when we go to sleep at night and we wake up the next day and we experience dreams and experiences in the subconscious, then a part of, like, our soul actually leaves the body, and we come back to the body in the morning. So that's also a death in itself, but we don't call it death, we call it sleep. At least that's what I experience in my sleep. I'm not saying that everybody else needs to experience that, but
Mm-hmm.
that's how I feel when I go to sleep, and when I wake up in the morning. We have that choice every day, and it's not going to be anything different when we die from our physical body. um so with
Mm-hmm.
death comes um comes the switch from risk taking to following the longings of my soul.
Mm-hmm.
So the first time I left Italy to go to Australia, for me it was a risk. It was a risk because I left a career in, a semi-professional football career, and a job, and the comfort of my family life, my friends. So I perceived it as a risk.
Mm-hmm.
But when I did it again, early this year, coming back to Italy and quitting my job as a personal trainer, which was going to lead me to become an Australian citizen, I quit that because it felt restrictive, as I said before. It didn't feel like a risk at all, because after the experience, I learned how to trust, um, the call, the intuition, the God guidance, whatever we want to call it. And because I'm trusting that I know it's not a risk. It is not a risk. It is just me following my own path. And that to me links with the brevity of death, to actually live my life as I want to live my life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. And I want to ask you about, okay, so I'm going to go a little deeper with what you just
Sure.
said. Like, so this is, in your view, I don't know about the science of it at all. When we go to sleep, you say that our souls leave the body, and it's our choice to wake back up.
Yeah, in a
Um,
way, yes.
Talk about that a little bit, because that in that I what I'm hearing is the word that shows up is transcendental. Um, I don't know too much about it, so I can't really speak on it too much. But I'm interested to hear what you have to say about that, because in many of the quantum physics or transcendental or some of the laws of the universe, like that's where our life is developed, in that space when we're asleep.
Yeah,
And so when we wake up to this reality, it's the reality that we created from the subconscious and whatever's in that space.
yeah,
So that's the real world. And then we wake up and then we're here. in the matrix, so to speak. And this is what that's where we are, but we can always change that. So I want to get your insight on that.
I think there's lots of taboo around dreams, and they just appearances in our minds. But I don't believe that. I think our waking life is as important and as our dreaming mind, and there is no separation between the two.
Mm-hmm.
And as I said before, when I go to sleep and I make my prayer before I go to sleep, or whatever it's your routine, then that's an intention to experience something in a way while you sleep, and that intention must be carried forward onto the next day. Um, so if you're a person who experiences dreams like lucid dreams, vivid dreams, I feel that those are powerful insights to be taken care of when we are awake again the next day, at least to give ourselves the time to reflect on those experiences, because they are not just fleeting experiences. They are
Mm-hmm.
there for a reason. Whether it's your subconscious speaking to you, whether you are dreaming of people, whether you're dreaming of perfect scenarios. So I think a dream is an accurate representation of where we are on our spiritual journey to enlightenment. And I take that very seriously.
Yeah.
And I've learned how to tune in with my dreams and to let them guide my waking life, um, and to do my best to, in a way, interpretate them, but not so obsessively that they take me away from the reality of waking life.
Mm.
So I like to call that spiritual homeostasis, which
Spiritual
is
what?
spiritual homeostasis.
Oh, homeostasis. Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
Space.
which is
Sorry.
the liminal space in between being awake and dreaming.
Yeah.
So that's my view on that.
I mean, you were working in things, and so you can apply this to um, entrepreneurs and business people. How would they apply that to their lives and their situations as being like a business owner?
As in, like, practical tools to
Practical,
tune in with the
practical,
dreams, you
practical
mean?
tool. Yeah, I can't say it right now. Practical tool. Yes.
In regards to the dreams, you mean?
Yes. Like, I mean, in this, like, we're talking about some spiritual things, your spiritual self. And your spiritual self really guides you to who you are in the real world. And
Yeah.
so in the real world, it could be a practical tool that can guide you as an individual in different decisions and choices that you need to make, right?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where I'm leading to.
Yeah. Well, I've started to experience in my sleep, especially after my ayahuasca experience. So I can only speak about that time frame, which is
Yeah.
more than half an year. Um, but especially in this phase of my life, which I think it's the starting of my I'm stepping into entrepreneurship or business like I've never done before.
Hmm.
I've again, I've worked as a coach before, but I was working for somebody else, so I didn't have fully control over the decisions I would make. But now that I stepped away from that and I'm by myself, dreams are helping me to reveal some shadow parts of myself in regards to business, in regards to money, and the perception I had, especially around those two aspects of a human life.
Mm-hmm.
And they are allowing me to have little breakthroughs in my journey to, I don't know if I want to become a entrepreneur or a millionaire. Probably not. That's not my interest at this stage. But at least I'm exploring those lacking aspects of my life,
Mm-hmm.
which have long kept me stuck in the past, and
Mm.
that I think are leading me to a potential that I haven't yet explored, but that I know it's there. So I can give you example of my oniric experiences. For example, dreaming
Yeah.
about receiving money or finding money, underneath bushes, or people giving me money, huge amounts, or seeing a what's it called? A safe, a big safe in a bank. And then I just think about those dreams.
Mm-hmm.
I try to attribute to those dreams my personal interpretation based on all the details around those experiences too. And I'm understanding that those dreams are leading me to build something for myself, which I'm slowly starting to do
Mm.
in the spiritual context, in the even fitness context in a way. So they are all implementing all my past skills with the skills I'm learning now, more in the business and money making context.
Yeah. What I'm also hearing in this part is that you are really leading a life that you're creating and designing that is in harmony with who you see yourself being in this very moment.
Yes, which
Would that
is,
be accurate?
yeah, that's really accurate. Yeah, you read my unspoken words really well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing because I would assert that living this life right now is fulfilling. I mean, probably there's parts that are maybe are not working as well as you want them to, much like everybody else in the world. But I would assert that this is a very fulfilling space and time in your life for you right now.
Because it keeps me curious,
Mm,
and I've definitely thought about money and business before. Even 4 or 5 years ago, I had clients telling me, "Oh, you should open a gym and all that," and I was like, "I don't want to.
hmm
I don't want to think about all the bureaucracy going around behind the scene. Like, I'm happy working for someone, getting paid by the hour, and I'm happy like that." But
Yeah.
now, even thinking about myself speaking that way, it makes me feel like, who was that guy speaking? That was not me.
Mm,
But now, because I'm present with my life and I am, again, following where my soul is taking me, even though it is carrying some time, um, it's allowing me to tap in with what's present now, without worrying too much about my past or even the future. Of course, it is good to have plans and ideas of what someone wants to do in the future, and building towards it. But if that takes away from the present moment, then I don't believe that's what manifestation is.
mm. What's present for you right now?
What's present for me right now? Expression. So doing my best to express myself, whether I like it or not, express my whole self as I am,
Hmm.
and being honest towards myself,
Yeah.
and building something that it's exciting for me,
Hmm.
uh, and that you know um, pushes me to um, explore and evolve and create for the sake of it, for the sake of pure creation, and not because of validation anymore.
Mm. Pure creation, just for the creation's sake, and not validation. There's a
Yeah,
lot to be said just with that right there. There's a lot to be said.
we can talk about it.
That is a lot to be said. So let's talk about it. In this space right now, you're just saying that, like, in your life right now, you're just being creative. And I want to talk about that, but you don't need validation. What is that for you now then, like, that you don't have, that you don't need validation?
I don't need validation because it is, well, it can be a bonus. I'm not saying that validation there's something wrong with it. You know, if you do something because it's pure and innocence and you've created that, you can decide whether to keep it for yourself or to share it with the world.
Hmm.
Whether it's through a post on Instagram, or no, a poem, for example, uh, whether it's an article, um, whether it's thoughts, emotions. So those are two options. Either you keep it for yourself for the fulfillment of your own self,
Hmm.
or either you share it with somebody else. But if you share it with somebody else, you need to be aware that people might validate you for that, or people might destroy you for that. And that's none of your
Yeah.
problems. That's none of
Yeah.
your problems. You can't control what people's reaction. So if you share it, if you decide to share it and you can take the consequences of that, whether it's the positive or the negative brackets,
Hmm.
then you know that you've done that for the sake of sharing it with your unconditional self, with love, and you're not influenced by anybody else's.
Mm.
And that's the way I see it. So there are multiple, for example, thoughts and philosophic ideas that I keep for myself in my diary,
Hmm.
that I would love to share with people, but that I know that if I do, um, maybe certain things I'm not ready for people's reaction, because it can take away my power in a way if I'm not careful.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing, what you share with people. I'll give you an example. When I came back from my ayahuasca experience, it
Hmm.
was a delicate and sensitive time of my life. So I decided not to talk with anybody within my family or friendship context, because I knew that they couldn't relate.
Hmm.
But not because I was superior to them, not at all, because they didn't experience that. So their reaction in my sensitive state, it was going to take away my power, the power I had. I was desperate to regain for myself. And it's the same thing with the sake of creation and valid external validation.
Yeah. Well, we're in the world of creators, especially with all of this stuff, right? And so I think that's something to be said, that we do this for X, Y, and Z reasons, but not to be validated. Um, because, if that's the reason why, that's the purpose, then, your heart will be broken all day, every day, you know, and it really will play with someone's psyche if they're not validated out of their creation. Um, and it may just, like you said, it may break you.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think it comes in place also the money aspect here, because sometimes when you create and you put a price on it, for example, um, it becomes an interesting dynamic. Then you start to create because you're going to get a value out of it,
Hmm.
and then you start to create, um, again, out of external influences, not because it comes from the purity of your being. So
Yeah.
that's also another interesting dynamic that I'm exploring now.
That's what you're exploring. And on Substack, what we found is, are these your poems that's on Substack?
Yes, I have 2 pages on Substack. One, it's called the Hybrid Soul blog. I share poems and articles about anything that comes to my mind, around shadow work, authenticity, spirituality, creativity as well. And the other page, which is called Oniric Life, which I share about my oniric experiences and practical tools that as I said before, to remember dreams more efficiently, and how to have a more intimate relationship with with our dreams, and let them guide us.
Talk a little bit about shadow work. What is that?
Shadow work is getting familiar and comfortable with the traits that we despise about ourselves or other people. So, for example, I used to experience jealousy within a romantic context. So,
You being the
sitting with
jealous one?
Well, I like to say that I wasn't the jealous one, but sometimes I was acting as the jealous one. So that made me a jealous. So it's all
Understood.
these, these things that we play in our heads.
Yeah.
But now, so I had to face myself. So I just stayed there, and I was journal about my jealousy. So anytime I would get triggered because I was jealous, then I would write it down as it was I was feeling, without, bullshitting myself, with all honesty, and read that again until it became until I accepted that trait of myself.
Yeah.
And I did that the same again and again with all the fears I had. For example, public speaking. I was absolutely, afraid of speaking in front of the camera and expressing my opinions and myself and my story. And here I am. So that's a part of myself I've accepted, and sometimes it does scares me again, but I don't let that fear control me. So that's what part of the shadow work is.
Okay. I like that. Because we all have our shadows, right? And so to work on those would be, definitely beneficial. So Cristiano, who are you today?
I am. I got asked this question before, so I'm prepared for it.
Oh, nice.
So, who I am today, I am the creator and the destroyer of my life. I am everything and nothing. I am all the paradoxical nature of my spirit. I'm all the opposing forces of life. I'm good. I'm the good and the bad. So I could go on and on and on. Um, that's who I am today.
That's the words that come to mind is the yin and the yang of your life, right? That's what came to mind. And it was you prepared for that answer. But that's really from your heart. I could sense that's really truly who you believe yourself to be. And that's probably what makes you a poet.
Yeah, I consider myself an hybrid soul, as I call my blog. So
Yeah.
someone who doesn't identify it. I don't identify myself with one single aspect anymore, like I did with football. So it is a pleasure that you're calling me a poet, and I'm grateful for it. If you've read my poems and they've touched you, I'm super grateful. So yes, I am a poet, but I'm also a writer. I am a son. I am a coach. I'm an athlete. I am everything I want to be, honestly. And so I'm trying to live my life as a whole, which, it makes me capable of doing bad because I've done bad before and I've hurt people, and I don't shy away from it. I'm not perfect. Even to these days, I sometimes hurt people or hurt myself or fall back into, self-sabotaging, multiple times. But at least I'm doing my best to be quick and to realize that, and to shift the narrative.
Well, you did say that you were everything and nothing. So that really speaks to that. Christian, there's so much that we could talk about. We're coming up on the hour, but first and foremost, I want to say thank you for sharing your story and just being willing to be open about your experience and your journey. I don't think that everybody has that ability to just be open about, where they are, who they're not, and bringing that to people to share what you've been through and inspire folks to do the same for themselves. What is your mission now?
What is my mission? I didn't prepare for that question.
It's good. It's okay.
Yeah. What is my mission?
You can workshop it out right now.
My mission is to, well, it goes back to, doing my best to be my whole self, to integrate. Well, I'll tell you what's present now. Okay, I'll answer with presence. My mission now is to integrate my sexuality, is to integrate my masculine self and my feminine self, to create harmony, and to redefine my definition of being a man. That's my mission now.
Okay.
My own definition, not what society thinks.
Yeah.
So my mission now is to reflect on that, and yes, and to let insights come to me, to receive my truth.
To receive your truth. Yes, I got that. As your last question that I'm going to ask you on the podcast, this is normally what I ask everyone. What's on your mind, in your heart and soul, that you want to share with people that are listening and watching?
Well, I wanted to praise you because you've been such a great host, and because you've read my, like, as I said before, you've read my unspoken words, and you've rephrased things I said in a way that made it easy for me to answer your questions. And you, at the same time, you've challenged my thinking and my perception, because you allow me to extrapolate answers and words that I haven't thought about or processed before. So just by our conversation, I'm now able to integrate some aspects of myself thanks to you. So that's one thing I wanted to share, and that's really meaningful to me, and I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And what was the question?
Yeah. So really, from your heart and your soul, what's on your mind that you want to share with people? That something that you're probably been dying to say, or that's whatever's present for you right now. Just share with
I'll
folks
share
as
a
you laugh.
quote. I'll share my favorite quote, which is, "The problem is not the problem. The problem is your attitude about the problem." That's my quote. And it took me out from a depressive state a few years ago, just by reflecting on that quote. So my heart is telling me to share that, because it is a quote that it's up to interpretation, and it can mean different things to people. So I hope that everyone who just heard that quote gets moved and feels inspired to take action in their life.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I love that, man. Thank you for that question. And before I ask the question for the audience, I got to say, throughout the conversation, sometimes I know I could tell that you've you're Italian, but I could tell you've been in Australia because
Uh,
there's certain phrases that you would say. I was like, that sounds very Aussie.
yeah, yeah. I don't. Not being around English people, it is fast. It is fast to forget English
Yeah,
sometimes.
it's perfect, man.
Only speaking Italian these days.
Yeah, yeah, it's good. It's good though. It's good. It's pretty cool. Um, as Americans, we have different dialects,
Yeah.
of English, but you can pretty much tell, like, where you're from in America or United States, based on how we speak. But here's what I want to say for our last question, which is for the audience. What is one illusion or limiting belief about success or purpose you've had to let go of? I want you to share that in the comments. And as we always say, let's make thriving our new normal. And I'll see you next time. Peace. Before you go, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for being a part of the ThriveWell Journey. Every time you show up here, you're choosing growth, clarity, and the deeper work of becoming who you're meant to be in this world. And if you're ready to reconnect with what truly lights you up, I created something powerful that can help you. It's called the Empowered Path, 7 days to reclaim your purpose and passion. It's a beautifully designed, guided workbook that walks you through a week of powerful prompts, clarity building tools, and real mindset shifts. Now, you can get instant access to it today. It's a small investment for a huge return. Your energy, your clarity, your alignment. And if you want to take it deeper, check this out. I'm offering a limited number of free 30-minute purpose coaching sessions. No pressure, no pitch, just space for you to reconnect with your direction, your gifts, and what's next. So you can grab the guide and book your session at the link in the show notes. Let's not just go through the motions. Let's really walk this path on purpose. I appreciate you. And like we always say, let's make thriving our new normal. And I'll talk to you soon.